Hey everybody, appreciate you guys tuning in to watch. Here's a little first look at Ada Wong. I know she released yesterday. I'm a day late. It was Sunday and I was busy. But here's what I think of Ada. I've looked at the description. I've seen some reports people have used her and she looks pretty good there. But let's take a look at what Ada does. So I'm just going to go and look at the max stats for Ada. She has a 40% indestructible effect. I'm going to compare her to Duke and Layla. If you know me, you know I prefer Duke over Layla slightly, but Duke's universal, so he can be put different places. Duke has a 38% indestructible effect. Layla has a 36% indestructible effect. So you're getting more indestructible effect with Ada, and it's the same length for each level of skill, so there's no big difference there. Her active skill is 3 skill attacks that prioritize enemies not affected by debilitation. That's going to be important later, but the key here is that they could hit any of the rows. So it's 3 skill attacks dealing 90% damage that could hit anywhere. If you remember, Duke has 3 skill attacks that deal 130% damage, but only to the back row. So Duke's skill attack in that way is actually better than Ada's. But it only hit the back row, whereas Ada will spread it out amongst all 9 stacks. But here's the kicker with that. And then Duke added 15% debilitation to whoever he attacked. So does Ada. The reason it's important that Ada's skill attack doesn't prioritize debilitation is because if it hits a target without debilitation, it gives a random naval unit 15% heavy armor and 15% light armor. One is damage reduction against skill attacks, the other is damage reduction against regular attacks. So it keeps your units alive longer, and that's why it's prioritizing people without debilitation. So as long as there's somebody on the other side who's not being debilitated at that time, you're going to be getting some armor every time the skill attack triggers as well. Now, is that worth a 40% drop off in damage from the skill attack? I'm not sure, but let's look at what else we're going to get as we go. So then you have your level 3 skill. Just to go over too. Layla had 4 skill attacks that did 80% damage, and she also does 15% debilitation to everybody she attacks. So with Layla, you were getting more attacks that were doing a little less, but it added up to more damage, actually. And interestingly enough, if you're using Jester, you get that debilitation boost. So it may in some ways be beneficial to have Layla, who attacks a lot of people, but we'll get into that a little later. Layla has no other than the 15% debilitation, she has no other specific, ability like this passive skill, though. So now we go into the skill. Level 3 is going to be the same for all of them. It's the 30% attack boost. All 3 of them have a 30% attack boost at level 3. At level 5, all 3 of them will give you an extra round of Indestruct, so you get 2 rounds now. Now for Ada, she increases the damage of the active skill by 25%. For Duke, he gave you a 20% vitality, which lasted for 3 rounds. And so vitality is a damage increase on regular attacks. It doesn't affect skill attacks, and it's kind of odd that Duke was a Navy hero, and I know he fits because of the debilitate, but that vitality is something that usually you see used with combo attack, which is a Kai and Barbie thing. So that was a little bit strange to see. And Layla at level 5 gives you the extra round of Indestruct and a 15% increase in active skill damage. So Ada's skill damage now at level 5 is going to be like 115% 3 times. Layla's was 95 4 times. So that advantage that Layla had there is starting to even out. It's not quite yet, but it's getting close now. And again, the passive skill also matters. So then you look at the level 7. It's the indestruct effect of the heroes increased by 10%, and the active skill count is now 4 to 5 times. So you go from 3 to 4 or 5 on the active skill, and you get the indestruct up 10%. Now the indestruct up 10% is part of the level skill for Duke and Layla as well. Layla's other thing in the level 7 was a 15% damage increase on the active skill again. So, and the active skill triggered an extra two times. I'm sorry, she didn't get a 10% increase on her indestruct at level 7. She got 2 more triggers, though, of her active skill attack. And then Duke got you that plus 10% indestruct, and his active skill went up by 80% at that point. So basically, the difference now becomes that Ada is going to give you 4 to 5 skill attacks and going to get the boost from the level 3. Duke is going to give you 3, but they're going to do more damage, but they're only going to hit the back row. So, and then the passive skill of Ada is going to help you. So, what you're going to gain is 2% indestruct. You might lose a little bit of skill damage to the units you hit, but it'll be spread out among all of them, and you gain the passive effect of that the light armor and the heavy armor that you're picking up. And then because she does more skill attacks, that debilitate effect is spread around more. Because if it's 4 to 5 at level 7, then you're going to get 4 to 5 people every time it's triggered that are getting debilitate. And that's a big part of that Jester Navy March. It's one of the reasons why Layla still plays well on that march, even though Duke probably has better stats, because Layla hits more targets. I mean, 11-7, Layla's going to hit 6 people and debilitate 6 people each time she triggers. So, that added effect, and that's kind of an interesting addition for Layla. So I like Ada Wong because I think the indestruct effect going up is always good. So again, anytime you can get more indestruct, that's a positive. The heavy armor and light armor are nice, and that makes it possible for her to work as well with the other march with Lydia and Zilla, or with the armor being affected. But I think so the one catch here would be that Jester starts each round with a certain amount of debilitate. So I don't know how many times this passive skill is going to trigger, because it says each time this hero's active skill hits an enemy without the debilitation effect. So it would have to be after they fired, so it'll be basically once every 9 turns that it would, after they've gotten debilitate. So I don't know how many times you're going to get that 15% armor if you're using Jester and you've got other debilitate effects on, because you're trying to maximize your debilitation. So that'll be a little interesting to see how it plays out. Now, I'm a big fan of indestruct going up because I think that's like a big boost for everybody. So I think Ada's good, but I think Duke and Layla can still perform, pretty well, though I think Ada's a little bit better. Is she enough better for you to throw away shards? I'm not sure about that, but we're going to have to run some tests and figure it out. So I'll also find somebody to test with who has both, and we'll work on it that way. But that's the first look. I'll have a video with tests coming up here shortly, and we'll go from there. Take a minute to hit like and subscribe. Cookie out.